Okay, let's move to the next exercises. So second exercise, please try to solve it yourself. That's the homework. And here you should use the same approach with the Lagrangian. The only difference is that now here there are 3 goods instead of 2. So please try to solve it, and I will then put later the solutions on Moodle. And the same actually for exercise number 3. Also please try to solve it yourself. So here you should apply that trick when basically we have that the slope of the budget constraint is smaller than the slope of the indifference curve and vice versa. So we are going to have corner solutions, and when they coincide, then actually consumer is indifferent. So that I explained in the theory video. And here you just need to correctly identify how the budget constraints are going to look like and how indifference curves are going to look like. So here we have substitutes, but not perfect substitutes. So that's why indifference curves are going to be straight line of some specific slope. And I remind you that slope is the marginal rate of substitution that you can calculate. And also the budget constraint, you can find how they are going to look like by looking at how many units of each good individual can buy given the prices and income. If he spends all his budget on just first good or second good, and then after that you get these 2 points, and then you just draw a straight line between them. Okay, so that's how you can solve it. Again, try to do it, and later on I will put the solutions on Moodle. So let's then move to exercise number 4. So here we have that individual has complements, so perfect complements preferences, and income is 4, and prices are P1 and P2 equal to 1. So I will just rewrite what I have here. So first we have that utility function is the perfect complements preferences. So you already have you already can if you memorized what actually these are going to, what properties do they have, then you can easier compute everything and you know how they look like. Okay, so that's our utility function, and we also know that income equals to 4 and prices equal to 1. So first we have to represent graphically the consumer's optimal choice. So in order to do that, first we will need to draw correctly the preferences and budget constraint. Okay, so here we have x1 and x2. So you know how indifference curves are going to look like. So these are just going to be such 90 degrees kinks, and I just remind you that we have infinitely many indifference curves, okay, that are parallel to each other. Okay, and then we also will have a budget constraint. So in order to draw a budget constraint, you just need to ask yourself how many units of first good and how many units of second good individual will be able to buy if he buys only that good. And so let's say if he spends all his money on good x1, and we know that price of that good is 1 and income is 4, so we know that he will be able to buy 4 units of the first good, and the same logic applies, and we know that he can buy 4 units of the second good if we have corner solutions. And then we just draw a straight line. So that's our budget constraint. Okay, and here we have indifference curves. And so already graphically we can see what the optimal choice is going to be. So that will be where individual will consume 2 units of good x1 and 2 units of good x2. Okay, and actually you could also figure it out easily if you remember how the demand, the standard form, what's the standard form of the demand function is. Okay, if we have perfect complements, and so again if you just substitute numbers, you will get that it's 2 and 2. Okay, so I partially solved point B, but now we are going to solve it if we assume that you don't remember how the demand functions for perfect complements look like. So here you remember what we have to do. So we just we have our utility function, again, which are perfect complements, and we also have our budget constraint. But here, because we have complements, Lagrangian is not going to work if you want to maximize the utility. So, but actually, you know how to maximize utility. Basically, what is going to be the optimal choice of individual? It will be such a choice where x1 always equals to x2. Okay, that's because these are perfect complements, so individual likes to substitute them to consume them in the fixed proportion 1 to 1. Okay, that's like right and left shoe. So if you have one left shoe, you also like to have one right shoe together with that, so that you have one pair of shoes. So, and then in order to solve it, you then have to substitute this finding into the budget constraint. And so we just have that, let's say b1 x1 plus b2 x1 equals to m. And from this we can calculate. So here we want to find the, so first we want to figure out what's the demand function for a good x1, and we just solve some algebra and we get exactly the same equation that we had here above. Okay, and we do the same if we substitute. So here we substituted x1 for x2, we can do the same. We substitute x2 for x1, and we get the same result. So we have identical demand function, which also makes sense because they want to consume in the same proportion in the ratio 1 to 1. Okay, so that's it for this exercise. Thank you for staying with me for this exercise session, and as usually you will have half an hour question and answer session during the last 30 minutes of your normally scheduled exercise session. Okay, so you can just join me there and ask any questions that you have to ask. Okay, see you there, see you soon, bye bye.